Hey everybody, it is Ann Bonnie, your president-elect, coming to you from Influence 2020 in my office. Yeah, it's virtual. But I attended a session today with Tami Evans and Brian Walter about extreme interactivity in our virtual sessions. And I gotta say, it was one of the most effective, helpful, tactical, awesomest sessions I've ever been to, because there were so many great things and they just rapid fire did them. It was really fun. It was really engaging, and I got some great ideas that I want to pass along to you. So one of the things they talked about was virtual eye contact. So as you're talking, making comments about things like, oh, wow, Tami, you look like you're in the Bahamas with that background. That's really cool. Or, oh man, Neen, you've got a great smile. And those little things show people they are being seen, kind of like making eye contact with our audiences. So I thought that was pretty cool, and just a way to engage people so they become, or they feel like they are an active participant, and you know they're there. So we know how important that is. Another one thing they talked about was finger polling. So telling people to put themselves in gallery view so they can see everybody in the meeting. And they ask a question and put a picture on the screen of a 1 finger, a 2 finger, and a 3 finger. And then they'll put the question on the screen and have everybody vote. Now, Brian Walter was using a really cool thing called a Black Magic ATEM Mini, which is a switcher, which allowed him to switch back and forth from his PowerPoint slides, or whatever slides he was using, and his video. So the slide showed up as his video rather than him having to change the functionality on the platform. It was really smooth. All he had to do was push the little 1 button or push the little 2 button to go back and forth from his video to his slide within his little box of video. That way, he was able to keep the gallery view so he could see people's voting, but show the question and show the 1, 2, 3. So that was really an effective way to get everybody engaged, get everybody involved, allow them to vote, and it was fun. And then you reveal it in a dramatic fashion, and it's super fun. So I was really interested in the fact that they were having people say, go to gallery view so everybody could see everybody, and you kind of felt like you were in the room. So that was really neat. Another thing they talked about was a virtual shout out. So saying like a would you rather. And this was a fun thing, but they talked about how you can use it with content as well, but asking a question and then having everybody just unmute themselves and shout it out. And it was kind of obnoxious, but you got into it. Like, you're like, no, this one is, you're seeing other people voting for other things. So it was fun. It was engaging. They used would you rather. They also used show us your footwear. And everybody kind of held up their shoe, which during the pandemic was pretty darn funny because there were a lot of funky slippers, a lot of socks. I had nothing because I'm barefooted. So that was kind of a fun way to engage everybody in this sort of virtual shout out too. They also did a high-low guessing game. So the question was, in December of 2019, Zoom had 10 million daily visitors. How many daily visitors did they report on March 10th of 2020? And so they would call people in the audience and say, Joe, what do you think? Joe would say 100 million. No, that's too low. All right, Susie, what do you think? Susie would say 200 million, still too low. And they did a high-low game like they do on The Price is Right by calling out people in the session. And then they won a prize, which was pretty cool too. They got a $25 gift card to Starbucks. Kind of fun. So that was really, really cool, but it was really engaging. It was fun. You're like waiting for them to call on you because you're like, oh, I want to guess 315 million. It ended up being 300 million. Another thing they did, they talked about using visuals because they're more interesting. So rather than just asking the question, he would flip to his slide with the question on there. But this switcher thing was so slick. Sometimes sharing screen gets a little, heavy. So that I'm going to get one of those switchers because I think that was super cool. Another thing they did was a hashtag challenge. And theirs was specifically, what's your best hashtag for the current state of the meetings and events industry during the quarantine. And everybody puts in the chat. They called it a, I can't remember, Chatorama or something. But they all put in the chat all these different hashtags. It was hilarious to read them all. So it was fun to see people's ideas all coming through on the chat and all of those hashtags. So that was really neat. Another poll they had was a continuum poll. And he had it on his slide with a continuum here. And they said on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being dried oatmeal and 10 being like super, super interactive, how interactive are your presentations right now? And everybody put in the chat 15, 10, 1, you know, whatever. And then where do you want to be? So you could poll people's knowledge on a topic. You could poll people's, you know, a personality style thing. I was thinking you could do this with an actual shared slide or a whiteboard and have people annotate, put like a, you know, a letter or a dot or one of those stamps or whatever in there so that you could see where everybody kind of fit on that continuum. So that was another really cool one. They suggested that we should all have virtual demo reels because if we're doing virtual presentation, we should be able to say, hey, here's me doing a virtual presentation. Isn't that fun to watch? So I would recommend making one of those. Tami talked about square dancing. They talked about platform skills. And if you're sitting, and I'm doing a really poor job of it right now, but if you're sitting, you have basically this whole stage where you could be going over here. If you're talking about the past and moving into the future, you could be, you know, like, and then we went and a week later, you know, and you can kind of use the stage that way. You can come close to do stuff. You can be like way far away. So they were talking about using the whole video screen as well to engage people and be more interesting than just a talking head like I am right now. And lastly, the last interactive thing that they did was called the formula. And so basically you put a pictogram, right? This picture plus this picture equals this, or this plus this plus this plus this, whatever. You make something up to go with your content. And then you say, hey, Susie, do you know what the formula is for the best way to blah, blah, blah in this, you know, whatever? And because people want to figure things out, they start trying to figure it out and they kind of guess something random that's totally wrong because you make it really obscure and fun. And then you're like, no, but then you explain it. Because people want to figure stuff out, you know, and maybe other people that you didn't call on could try it in the chat, but because you didn't, you know, they want to figure that out. They're engaged. They're like waiting to find out what it is. So again, it was another way just to get people to like really pay attention. And it was super, super fun. So huge shout out to Tami and Brian. It was an amazing, really great session. If you are an influence, if you do have a ticket to the virtual influence, I recommend you watch it if you weren't there because it was incredibly tactical and very, very useful. Thanks, you guys. Good luck.